Oh, don't mind me, guys. I'm just feeling really good. First of all, I want to give a massive shout out to everyone. Wishing you all a very happy Easter, a very happy Passover, whatever holiday that you are potentially spending today, enjoying with your families. I hope you guys are continuing to do just that. This stream, post-game coverage will be going on upwards of an hour. It might be a little less given the fact that it is a holiday today, but no less. We got a lot to break down after a massive, very strong victory in the end for the Mets. Didn't start off pretty, this time winning 5-0 against the Arizona Diamondbacks to win their series. The Mets are now 7-3 on the year and have found themselves winning their first 3 series to start 2022 off. Can't ask for much more, and especially after losing a game that Cookie Carrasco deserved a win for his second start of the season. He deserved wins for both those games. Didn't get yesterday. I was away out of town, just got back home today. That's why we're doing post-game now, but good bounce back win after yesterday. Again, this wasn't the prettiest win by any means. And speaking of wind, more like wind, it was a very windy day in Citi Field. And you could tell that from how the ball was flying out there. And also we saw some interesting things transpire between the Mets, their defense, and everything as a whole. So again, a lot to get into. I'm very excited. Big win for the Mets today. I want to hear everyone in the chat. Let's get some spam. Let's get some W's in the chat right now, folks. I want to see it. I really, really do. And again, shout out all you for being here, whether you're watching live or on replay for this post-game coverage. Continue to smash that like and subscribe on. Help us get to 100 likes for our first short-term goal, and help us get a 15K subs, the next short-term goal here on the channel. I would like to thank everyone first so much for chiming in for this post-game coverage. Like I said, we got a lot to break down. I'll be sharing my quick analysis, everything that transpired in this game that led to the Mets victory, along with answering your questions for my people in the live stream specifically, and then going on from there. And again, shout out all you guys. Thank you all so much for being here. As always, I do see a donation, so I'd like to address that quick. Let's see. Disharmonist, thank you so much for the $5 donation. Happy Easter to you and your family as well. I really appreciate that. Hype in the chat, Tim, really, really does mean a lot. Thank you so much for that, buddy. A lot of W's in the chat. You definitely love to see it. And again, I appreciate everyone being here. But guys, let's talk about it. This was a nice win for the Mets. Didn't start off pretty. Damn, stream right away. Yes, we stream right away. As soon as that game is done, hop it on. As I prep, get all the highlights, figure out all that fun stuff, get my Wardy's top 5, my top 5 performers today, and then we jump right in. And let's talk about performances. A nice pivot. Thank you so much again for that donation, Ray. I appreciate it. How's it going, Darren? Great member on the channel. All you guys, thank you all so much for being here. You've been sick all day. Well, I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope you feel better, Darren. You're an absolute beauty. I know you'll feel better because, I mean, look at you. You're an absolute beast. No sickness can hold you down for too long. Let's be honest here. But getting into now what transpired in the game today, folks. Yeah, this wasn't a pretty one to start off early. We had Southpaw David Pearson on the mound that we all know, who came out in relief of Taijuan Walker after pitching 2 beautiful innings in Philly 5 days ago. Then he went down with that shoulder issue. It does look like he will be back hopefully within the next, 10 days or so. Coming off the IL, then he has to do rehab start. But no less, David Pearson pitched 4 scoreless in Philly 5 days ago, and he did the exact same thing again against the Arizona Diamondbacks team that actually took advantage and beat up him pretty well. I believe that was when they were in Arizona. So again, Hitters Park a little bit different. Either way, David Pearson came out today, and what did he do? He absolutely shoved. The Mets currently, because of David Pearson, only have an ERA on the season among their starters of just over 1. It is the best starting staff ERA, earns run average in all of baseball. We saw him. He threw 4.1 scoreless innings today, only gave up those 3 hits, those 2 walks, and yes, those 5 strikeouts, over 80 pitches. And if I'm being completely honest, what really stood out to me personally about what transpired with David Pearson today was exactly what Ron Darling and others were highlighting in the SNY broadcast, and that was his slider. That's where he saw a lot of those swing and misses, especially on lefty-lefty action, and he just looked fantastic on all fronts. I can't complain with what I saw from David Pearson today whatsoever. And for a guy that, again, is trying to make himself work either in the bullpen or as a lawn reliever, that lawn reliever type is really what I think is going to profile best for Peterson this season, and for his sake in staying in the majors once Taijuan Walker's back, once everyone stays healthy. But again, tip of the cap to David Pearson. What a tremendous job he did for the Mets in crucial time with, again, not just Jacob deGrom down to start this season, but Taijuan Walker now too. For both him and Tyler McGill alike, 2 guys that were on the outside looking in originally, of this rotation to come in and step up the way they have has been nothing short of special. So huge shout out to David Pearson. What a performance. And again, all you guys just chiming in, thank you all so much for being here. I will get to your comments, questions, and concerns as soon as I possibly can once I'm done breaking down what transpired in this game. So continue smashing that like and subscribe button if you guys are enjoying the post-game show. I know a lot of people watching. Most of you guys are probably in replay because you're busy focusing on your families for the holidays, and rightfully so. That's why we're not going to be going crazy long today for this post-game show. But David Pearson looked great, but the Mets, they were not doing well offensively. Let's be honest. Yesterday, they didn't do well offensively at all. Cookie Carrasco, just to recap from yesterday, as you guys all know by now, pitched between 5 and 6 innings, gave up, had 8 strikeouts and gave up no runs, and the Mets simply couldn't leg out anything because Starling Marte got that 2-run bomb, which was so beautiful in the 8th. But that was all the Mets could do after giving up a couple runs because of Seth Lugo, another poor performance out of the pen to start the season for him. But relievers today, man, oh man, did they come out strong. Trevor Williams pitched .2 innings pitch after David Pearson, gave up a couple hits, but did not give up a run, had a strikeout. But one of my Wardy's top 5 today has to be Chasen Shreve. Drew Smith looked phenomenal as well. But Chasen Shreve, guys, the Mets southpaw, who was originally a southpaw in the Mets pen going back to 2020. They signed him again entering the season. He has looked great for the most part. Pitched 2 scoreless today, 2 strikeouts, and no hits. Love to see that from the Mets main southpaw in this pen, along with Joely Rodriguez. And then Drew Smith again came in 1 inning of relief there in the 8th. No problem. He has been the Mets' best reliever to start the season, if I'm being completely honest. Had himself a strikeout and a walk. No hits given up. And then Edwin Diaz, what does he do? He gets those quick 3 outs there for the most part there in the 9th. And yeah, you love to see from Edwin what he was able to do for the Mets today. He did give up at least 1 walk, but that's all she wrote for the D-backs there in the 9th. It was a non-safe situation for Edwin Diaz, but again, was still able to get out of that without a problem. And again, this was a very strong win for the New York Mets. I mean, from all fronts, they needed a win like this. They needed to make sure that they won this series against a subpar Arizona Diamondbacks team, a D-backs team that simply was all over the place defensively in this one. And the Mets didn't look sharp either, because when we talk about defense, Starling Marte had probably one of the worst days you will see from him in the outfield all year long. First of all, we saw him get caught in the outfield, trying to get a fly ball from Carson Kelly, who was hitless going into today's game to start the season. He wasn't able to see it because the sun blinded him. It dropped right around him. Carson Kelly got a double, which is a joke, but that was his first hit of the season. Then Marte just missed a nice, what should have been a grab in right field, and that led to another double. Thankfully, no runs came out of it, but Marte, who's known for one of the better gloves in all baseball in the outfield, who's been playing in the corner outfield for the Mets for the most part this season, had a bad day in the outfield, but it's okay. Again, as thankfully it didn't hurt the Mets really any way, shape, or form. But when we get to the offense again, because that's why we're talking, the Mets were not pretty offensively today. Similar to yesterday, they had 6 hits. They had an expected batting average of 239, but you know what they did today? They got the job done, and they got on base a boatload. The Mets had a bunch of walks in this one, but I'm doing the tally right now. So McNeil got 2 walks. We got Lindor with a walk, so we got 3, 4, 5, 6 walks for the Mets in total. And yeah, they actually matched their hits just based on their walks today. But when we go through what transpired offensively, it is led by, yes, of course, that being Pete Alonso. Big Meat Pete, as we love to call him, Pistol Pete, however you want to say it. He comes in DH for the 3rd time this season. What has Pete Alonso done the other 2 times he's been at DH this season? Oh, he's hit home runs in each of those games. So naturally, for the NL RBI leader, you would expect him to do the exact same, even with the wind blowing as much as it did today. If there's one guy that's going to hit a ball out, it's going to be someone like Pete Alonso, and he did exactly that later in this one to seal it, to give the Mets originally what looks like a 3-0 lead at the time to a 5-0 lead. Big Meat Pete had a piss missile to the left side, a 2-run shot, and that is really what sealed the deal. Loving this for Alonso. He now has 3 home runs and 14 RBIs, your National League leading 14 RBIs leader, that being Pete Alonso. Thank you so much, Pete, for putting the seal on this victory. But prior to that, the Mets were getting a couple runs in, and it really all started off because of Pete Alonso still, because Pete, as we saw, found himself, Alonso was on Alonso was on first base. Eduardo Escobar, that was after Francisco Lindor was originally on first. Alonso hit a pop-up the infielder for the D-backs let it drop, and that was actually a very smart move by him, so that way he'd get the force out at second, so that way Lindor wouldn't be running at first. It would be Pete Alonso instead, and naturally Lindor is a better base runner for obvious reasons. But right after that, Eduardo Escobar hits like a soft single down the first baseline, and it trickles through because the right fielder, that being Pavin Smith, for the D-backs, way overthrows it, sails it to third. So Alonso somehow, someway goes from first all the way to home, scores. Eduardo Escobar gets on third base, just beats it by a hair. And what a fantastic job by the Mets base running in this one. Shout out, of course, to Mr. Cora, Joey Cora, the Mets third base coach. He has been great to start the season for the Mets. They have more aggressiveness, this urgency on the base pass, and are really picking their timing right. There really hasn't been much of any scenarios outside of like one spot when it was Jankowski trying to get third base in the DC series. Other than that, the Mets have been really good with their base running, and they have, when they've been caught, it has been for a lack of effort. It's just been perfect throws by either their respective catcher or respective infielder or outfielder for the opposing team. So I've been loving the base running by the Mets so far. You got to love to see that, absolutely. And then right after that, while the D-backs were figuring out if they wanted to appeal the situation at third base, yes, J.D. Davis stole second base, and everyone, including Ollie Perez, the former New York Met, was in shock on the mound because they didn't realize that you could steal a base in that situation. But a great play by J.D. Davis to take advantage of the spot, and a great move by Buck and everyone involved. I don't know exactly who warranted and said that, yeah, that's a rule. You can actually do that. Buck gave the thumbs up to whoever it was. Either way, J.D. Davis got a stolen base after that pinch hit RBI that he had in this one, which was so great. So the Mets just tacked on the runs later in this game. Again, was a snooze fest early on with the offense. There's no denying, but they were able to clutch up and do what winning teams do, and that is, in fact, win in the end against a team like the Arizona Diamondbacks. They very well could have won yesterday, too. They unfortunately just fell short. But every single loss that the Mets have had this season are all games that you could easily argue that they should have won, or at least should have been in a better spot than what they were. They were all tight games, and they were all games that either imploded because of the bullpen, or quite literally, yeah, that and the lack of offense. And again, thankfully, the Mets have won their first 3 series to start the year, and now they find themselves about to enter a massive matchup against the San Francisco Giants, in which we will be covering every single game on the channel during that series here on WardyNYM. Every post-game imaginable. We might even be doing an in-game live stream for one of those games too, and a series preview earlier in the day tomorrow prior to the actual game tomorrow night, which will be Tyler McGill. Shout out to Julie's mom, who's a member on the channel and the family. They will be at the game tomorrow, matching up against Alex Cobb, the newly acquired right-hander, originally from the Angels, who signed with the Giants last season, is off to a great start for the veterans. So very excited. Again, this was a good one for the Mets. Again, wasn't crazy. There were some defensive miscues, to put it lightly. The D-backs made the Phillies defensive outfield look good at times. That's how bad this D-backs outfield was in this series. But overall, very happy the Mets got this victory. I'm sure you guys are too. And when we look through the lineup quick before I start answering your comments, and I will say Big Meat Pete for as long as I possibly can. I know you either love it or hate it. Can I explain the JD Steele? Okay, and I'll explain that in a minute a little bit further. But Jeff McNeil, 0 for 2 today, but 2 walks. I liked what I saw from McNeil at the plate today. He has an 885 OPS on the season, so getting on base, love to see that. Starling Marte, not a good day at the plate or in the outfield, but you know what? He gets the pass after doing what he did throughout the entire start of the season for the Mets, especially over the past 2 games, with that bomb 2 days ago to help secure the lead for the Mets, and then yesterday to keep the Mets in it at least, even though it was a late heroics in the 8th that unfortunately the Mets weren't able to tack on one more to at least tie it. Francisco Lindor continues to look like Francisco Lindor that the Mets expected to acquire when they landed him entering last season. Lindor, tremendous. Again, 1 for 3 today. What a run scored and a walk. He's getting on base multiple times a game. Love to see that, especially without having Brandon Nimmo, Marcana currently in the lineup because they're on the COVID list. Hopefully they're back very soon. Either way, the Mets have been able to still step up to certain degrees with them being gone outside of the anomaly of yesterday's game. Pete Alonso, again, we just talked about him, 1 for 4 with 2 runs scored and 2 RBIs. And I have on the graphic that he has 1 RBI. He has 2. I apologize. I was typing it up quick. I didn't have as much time to prep today as I normally do. So my apologies. But Eduardo Escobar, 2 for 3 with that run scored and that double. Love to see that. And the walk, yes, it was originally soft single, but he was able to leg it out to a double. Then got on third base, but it wasn't able to triple because that was just based on the throwing error from Pavin Smith in right field. Then we have Dom Smith. Dom did not get a hit today, went 0 for 3 with a walk, but that walk led to a run scored because of everything that transpired with JD Davis coming in for Travis Jankowski, getting that clutch pinch hit base knock. A ballsy move by Buck because he realized that putting in JD for Jankowski had a good day at the plate like he normally does, but matched up lefty-lefty with Ollie Perez. It made sense to bring in JD, get that righty-lefty matchup, and then you have Nick Plummer in the outfield. Plummer did have an at-bat today, his first at-bat as a New York Met. Did not get a hit, but did barrel the ball nice. It just went to center, didn't hit the gap. No worries, though. Either way, JD got that pinch hit single, and Dom just legged it out at home to get there safely. Jankowski 0 for 2 today, but again, he's been looking great with the glove that you saw with that really nice catch along the wall, and he just had so much speed on the bags. There was a double play situation earlier in today's game that he legged out with ease so that they only got the force out of the fielder's choice at second. But then we have Nick Plummer. Again, we just talking about him. James McCann. Shout out to James McCann for getting a sac fly today. And I do apologize. Maybe Dom Smith scored on James McCann's sac fly. I don't believe it was JD Davis's single. So I might be getting them confused. I do apologize. But either way, McCann did get that sac fly, and I do believe that's how Dom scored. So going to backtrack and fix that real quick. Again, it's been a long day for me traveling because I was out of town. Family wedding, came back today, got to watch the majority of the Mets game. So I'm a little all over the place, a little bit more than usual, which I know that might be hard to believe. But either way, McCann 1 for 3 with a sac fly. And why is that important, you might ask? The Mets simply don't hit sac flies. Last season, they barely did this all year long. So for them to do this in this spot was definitely important. And then Luis Guillorme did not have a good day at the plate, but did have a really nice out with the glove to end the inning that would have led a run in earlier in the game had that not have been the final out. So great job by Guillorme there. And then we talked about all the pitching. So I'm going to address a donation quick, and then I'll start answering everyone's questions. Again, shout out all you guys for being here. I really, really do appreciate it. Big Mets win 5-0 over the Arizona Diamondbacks, and now they're set to play a big, massive, and most important series to start the year by far, not even close, and that is against the San Francisco Giants, who, if I'm not mistaken, are 7-2 on the season. So they're right where they left off last year with some stellar pitching. Alonso ruffles Peacock's feathers. Yes, I beautifully said there, Dave. Love to hear that. Dave, thank you so much for that donation. That's pretty funny. I appreciate that. Yes, the fish are killing the Miami Marlins have notoriously been the enemy, not just for the New York Mets, but the Philadelphia Phillies. So I'm not surprised, at all, that the Marlins have done as well as they have in that series against the Phillies. One bit. Any news on Cano or Nimmo to briefly touch on that? It depends on vaccine status. So there's been a large assumption that Nimmo isn't vaccinated. Whether he is or isn't, it is what it is. But I do know that if you are not vaccinated, that you have to be out a minimum of 5 days or testing negative twice. So either way, I don't expect Nimmo to be out more than a couple more games. I mean, he's already been out 3 days, right? So Nimmo should be back during the Giants series as long as there's no setbacks with him and his health. Same thing with Canna. Canna, I do believe is vaxxed. I've heard over social media again. Not that that necessarily means much, but just from my little knowledge on the situation. Canna, I expect him probably back, if not the first game of the series, then the second game. And that's kind of how I feel about Nimmo too. I can see Nimmo back by earliest probably the second game of the Giants series and maybe latest, the third or the fourth. But either way, they both should be back during this next series, which is definitely positive. And what is also positive, as some people are saying in the chat, and you're not wrong, is Travis Jankowski. What a great performance we have seen from him. And also shout out all you guys in the chat right now. Help us get to 15K subs and help us get to 200 to 300 plus likes by the end of the post-game show. It really does mean a lot. I don't know where we are in the like count right now, but again, support is always appreciated. I hope you guys have been enjoying this post-game show. So for everyone watching on replay right now, which is none of you guys, this is where I'll be cutting things off for my viewers on replay. And if you want to see the full version, make sure you subscribe, have the notifications on, and check out for consistent content all week, every week here on the channel, so that way you can chime in the live streams and get your comments answered. But shout out all you guys again. Thank you all so much for watching. To my viewers on live, I'll be answering all your questions now. But besides that, let's go Mets, baby.